I'm Joni De Winter.
And I am Susan Grant.
And we are part of Bell Street,
who are an events band and theatre company.
And we're here to share stories of our fun and failures.
On our journey from being scared and just doing it anyway.
We'll let you into a little secret. We just recorded episode 2 without the microphone plugged in.
Yes. It's always a learning curve, isn't it?
Yes. But that leads us on to our topic today, which we did touch on a little bit last week in introducing ourselves. But we wanted to talk a bit more about...
what can stop you from just doing it anyway?
Yes. And by it, we mean whatever it is that you're dreaming of, as long as it's legal.
If it's not, just don't tell us.
Don't tell us. But this is how you do it. No, it's not. I'll cut that out. We thought the best example, really, to use when talking to you guys about our experience of just doing it anyway is Hugh, the musical that we wrote, which you may have heard us harping on about a little bit. Because for us, that was a really big decision to step out of our comfort zone and just do it anyway.
And put everything on the line with our creative process
and our impeccable reputations, you know?
Yes.
So we thought we'd talk through some of the objections we came up with that could have stopped us from making that happen. And hopefully that will help you with whatever it is you're wanting to do. It might be a musical, might be just starting a book. It might be something not creative at all. It might be building a house.
Yeah. But you do have to have a starting point. So that is where do you start? Where do you start? And if you've got the idea and you've got the passion for it, it takes a bit of bravery to actually take that first step. When there's a lot of fear in the way of, are you good enough? And for me, that's my own thing. Am I good enough? And we've talked before, what will people think? The fear of just starting is probably bigger than anything.
Yeah, definitely. And that was a real thing for us, the fear of starting and feeling good enough. And we're going to talk about it more in another podcast, we hope. What people have kind of coined imposter syndrome was rife in our thoughts when we started Hugh, the musical. Because who are we to think we can? Who am I to get people to come and watch it? Who am I to charge people to see something?
Even as Bell Street, we're better with it now, but at the beginning it was. We can't charge people to watch us. Now we can. But it is being comfortable with, this is what I do. This is what we do. And it's being authentic. And, well, we had quite a big discussion in the non-recorded version of this about getting over yourself. Actually.
Yes, Susan told me to get over myself. So that's my goal for 2024. I'm sure some other people would agree with you.
It sounds relatively offensive, I know, but we all sometimes need to just get over ourselves. Ego, worry, fear, we can, when you've got that passion for whatever it is, that needs to be so much bigger than, I can't do it.
And it's a conscious decision, really, isn't it? Because until you start taking steps to begin to get over yourself, begin to get past the imposter syndrome, then you're just going to be stuck there. So that's what we are going to talk through today. So one of the big things we recommend, if you have got something that you need to do, want to make, want to become, is carve out some specific time to make it happen. The reason you need to book that time in is because all of those other reasons that we just talked about, not being good enough, who am I, will creep in, and there will be another reason for you not to ever get on and do that thing. So we found, for an example of what we did, is with Hugh the Musical, we booked 1 day a week, we booked an afternoon, we booked a space, we booked a person to come and work with us. We turned up. It didn't matter how each of us were feeling, it didn't matter if we were hungover, it didn't matter if we just weren't, the kids were being a nightmare or we were stressed about something else. We turned up and tried to make songs come out of our brains.
Yeah, songs, music, lyrics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We worked with a really great guy called Ellis, who was fantastic at taking a lot of shit from us, really. Make it be like this. No, not that at all. Oh, can it sound like The Little Mermaid, but if she was cross? Or we want a tango, but it needs to be sexy. Or, well, tangos are sexy.
It was a rango. It was going to be a rock tango.
A rock tango. Yeah. Mm. Can you make it sound like Bonnie Tyler? Can we? All of these things he put up with from us. But we had that space and we never cancelled it, did we? I don't think we cancelled one, did we?
Nope.
And there were a couple Ellis couldn't make. We still met anyway. But what it meant was we had accountability to each other, to the fact that we'd put it in our diaries. So anybody who kind of relies on us knew we had that day. And we had brought someone in who was also, we were accountable to them. We owed it to him to show up and not waste his time as well. And I think if we hadn't done that, we wouldn't have got anywhere with writing the songs in Hugh.
And we were honouring the project as well. Giving it that time meant that it was a real thing. It talk about different ideas at different times. There's that book by Elizabeth Gilbert called Big Magic, which is all about if you have an idea and you don't act on it, then someone else quite possibly will go and do it, even if you've not said it to anyone. But these ideas come, and sometimes they're not right, and sometimes they are. And if you feel that it is, and you don't get on with it, then why shouldn't it go to someone else? Which we're quite good at being a bit gung-ho with, well, let's just do it.
We're keeping that idea. We're keeping it. So that was a really big plus in our minds, and kind of links into our other point of find somebody who you can be accountable to about your idea. So we obviously have each other. Obviously. But
we also try and find other people, because we can also talk ourselves out and each other out of a situation if we are doubting it a little bit. So to actually make sure that we've told people, and there is a worry that sometimes people feel that if they share things, people will take their ideas or be inspired, but that they'll lose that control over it. If you find someone that you trust or you respect and you just talk it through and write it down with them, they're not going to run off. Well, they shouldn't run off with your idea. What were we told this weekend on that course? No idea
is an original thought.
Everything comes from something. So
there's nothing new under the sun. Another commitment we made to each other to do with being accountable was to stop laughing about our idea. To stop going, oh, we're going to write a musical. Oh yeah, when we write our musical, yeah, it's going to be great, everyone's going to come. Not. We realised we were making so many jokes about it. I think we both listened to a similar podcast about it, didn't we? Where the advice was just to stop laughing at your dreams. They're not a joke. Treat them with the respect they deserve. And we had to hold each other accountable for that. We noticed how often we were making jokes about what we were doing in terms of demeaning it, really. So we held each other accountable for that, but also our friends weren't laughing about it. It was just us laughing about it. Our friends were excited to see what we were going to do. And that was a hard habit to break. But it is definitely a good piece of advice that we were given. And it's good to pass it on. Don't laugh at your dreams. They're important. And don't take yourself seriously, but take your dreams seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. What is also quite good is with having your time and carving out that time, finding space that you can actually work in. Because with anything that you're doing, whether it's on your own or with somebody else, but where you're putting yourself out there, quite probably not being paid at the beginning, whether it's creative or not, it can feel quite a selfish thing to be doing, because you're taking yourself away from all other responsibilities to go and build something that's yours. And that is all right. Actually being okay with, this is my time to create this excellent thing that I don't know what it is quite yet, but I've got an idea and there's lots of passion behind it. It's such a shame if that's not given the time and the respect that really it should be. So finding some space with that time that you can go and either sit and write or draw or book somewhere where you're going to sing, or I mean the example of building a house earlier, I guess find somewhere that you can build it. Yeah.
Sit and dream.
Yeah, and it is about allowing yourself to dream, and whether that's half an hour just for you with no distraction, or a day or a week or whatever time you need, it is really important to find a space. And we found ourselves having to be quite regimented in booking space, otherwise we end up in our living room or kitchen or somewhere squeezing time in, washing up and feeding dogs and children and stuff. So that does have its place, but sometimes it's nice to have a little moment of a sanctuary.
And it kicks off the discipline, as we were saying before, of showing up for yourself.
Yeah.
When you are building those ideas and you begin to have something a bit more tangible, we have really found involving other people is great. So obviously, as Susan was saying earlier, find somebody you can tell your idea to, be accountable, and someone you trust that you feel is going to support you. And then once you've built on your idea a little bit, we really gained from getting other people on board. And that was a big move for us, because Ellis we knew a little bit, who we were writing with, who we'd made that space with. That was a bit of a practice. We're going to write a musical. He didn't laugh. It was fine. But Ellis is Susan's cousin. And so he's already been in a Spice Girls video with you.
He has been in a Spice Girls video with me. Well, in my back garden. It wasn't a real Spice Girls video.
Could have been.
We were wearing sight helmets.
Yes.
And it's brilliant choreography.
So you've already been quite vulnerable with him. So that was one small step. But the biggest step was then to begin to put it out there in the world. One of the big steps, as well as carving out time, was setting ourselves a deadline, which is a great way to A, be accountable, B, make sure something happens at the end of all this thinking and idea writing you're doing. If you have a deadline, whatever it is, that really helps give you a goal. And our deadline for Hugh the Musical was the Fringe show, the Fringe Festival at Shaftesbury, which was in 7 months' time from when we decided to start writing the musical.
That sounds like a really long time, 7 months, doesn't it?
Well, it doesn't now.
No, but at the time it did. It did. You know, we'll do a song, you know, a week or
we
whatever.
Absolutely believed we were going to write a full musical in 7 months. So,
what we did, roughly.
Yes, we did. But that deadline kept us on track. It meant that we had to show up for these weekly writing sessions. It meant that we had to start with publicity. We had to make something happen. We had to start talking about it to promote it, whatever it was going to look like. But what we found as we got closer to the deadline was that it wasn't ready. Which comes to another point, which is set yourself a deadline.
Yes.
But with your deadline, keep some flexibility in there with what you're actually going to present.
Yeah. Because there's no point beating yourself up over it when it's your creative project and it's supposed to be passion and fun. It's going to come with hard work and irritation as well. But you do need to bend a little bit if it's not quite what you thought it was going to be.
So I think everybody, well, not everybody, because you may be listening somewhere where you've never met us or heard us talk before. Hello. But a lot of people know the story of just before, the night before, we were due to perform Hugh the Musical at the Shaftesbury Fringe. We were rehearsing at my house. Someone made a joke or something went wrong and we started laughing about it, and then I started crying on the floor. And then Susan joined me on the floor and started crying too. Yes. And then we were just crying on the floor of my lounge, thinking, what the hell, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And we were going to cancel it.
We were going to cancel it. We were just going to do a gig as Bell Street.
We'd sold tickets. Had we sold out? But
we had pretty much sold out.
2 tickets off selling out, 80 tickets.
And yes. And so with creative anything, there has to come a release of emotion. We didn't fall out at any point, which was excellent. But yes, crying on the floor.
So we had to be flexible because we were on the floor, but also because we were like, this isn't ready. This musical. I said earlier, why didn't we know that it wasn't going to be ready until the night before? How were we in such denial? But anyway, we were like, right, we need to rethink this. So we did, didn't we?
We did. We rehearsed that night and in the morning, and we reshaped the show. So we still had our songs, we still had a rough storyline, but we put it on as a presentation, as a work in progress, which is what it was.
As Bell Street. So Bell Street presented Hugh the Musical, which actually has massively shaped what Hugh the Musical became as a finished project, because the audience really loved the format of how we'd presented it. They loved that we were doing it, that it was things were going wrong, that maybe we needed help with some of the words. We decided to make it interactive really because we weren't prepared with the special effects or the various, how were we going to get past not having this cast member. So we made it interactive. That night or the morning, I think you ran out and bought some party poppers, didn't you? Like, we dug out a hairdryer. But it has become an interactive, funny show about a musical that isn't going particularly well. So it actually completely transformed what we were doing.
Yeah, and it's far more authentic now because we can really pull on everything we know.
Everything we know.
We try to be characters in it, but actually it is just us.
It is. But that, so deadlines, but have a bit of flexibility. It's wherever you get to by that deadline is great. Just think of the best way you can present it or talk about it or send it off at that point. Yeah, that was really intrinsic in our journey as musical writers. Don't laugh.
I'm just remembering. But with that as well, we worked with Ellis, which was great. But since then, we've worked with other musicians to actually then get the soundtrack recorded. I mean, that was another huge step to take ourselves seriously enough to go into a room of musicians and say, please, can we make these songs sound better? Can we record them? And they did. And no one laughed.
No one laughed.
Well, not to our faces, anyway.
But that's the most important bit. Those people that we involved in our project, it was the next step to it then being even bigger, even better. And involving other people is scary, isn't it?
Yes.
It is scary. it is important, and we have learned to bite the bullet and be brave and ask people to be involved in what we're doing, ask people to be involved in our projects, because ultimately you have to get to that point with your project where you begin to share it. It might be that you want someone to read your first draft, I'm sorry I started the house analogy because you get an architect. I went Scouse then, did you hear that? Architect. Get an architect to draw up your plans. You know, there's the next step where your skills aren't there yet. That's not part of your job. We are never going to be a session musician like the musicians we had on our album. We don't want to be that. They are amazing and we needed them.
Asking for other people's help when they have the skills and you don't is also a really big thing, because we have gone through a long process of trying to do everything ourselves, and it's really nice to learn from other people, because people have skills. That's their job. And they just do it. Like, we spend hours and hours on something, and of course they do it because they're trained.
Yeah.
And that's their passion as well.
Yeah.
So yes, we had lots of fun recording the music and meeting these brilliant musicians. And then, of course, if you're brave enough to work with other people and open enough to talk and work, because obviously you don't get on with everybody. Everyone has, you know, their own ways. But if you do find those little relationships that really work for you, then that can quite often lead to all sorts of other things, which can be really exciting, because you suddenly end up down a route that you didn't really realise you were going. and it's fun.
But what if you don't know anybody? What if someone's sitting here listening to this and thinking, but I don't know anybody?
Well, depending on what you need, then that would always be an excuse as well, not to start, not to do it. I'm not saying that people do know everyone, but there are ways, aren't there? There is Google. There are people. It's amazing if you just start talking. You don't have to tell everyone about what your idea is, but if you just start talking to people, whether you're in the supermarket or at the pub or on a dog walk, or it's funny how often someone will go, oh, I used to do that, or I know someone who knows someone who could and again, people will sometimes help you.
And find people who have the same dream as you. Find people who are striving for the same thing, even if it's not exactly. Find a writers group. There are loads, and if there aren't face-to-face writers groups, there are things online. We just went on a course, didn't we, in London, about how to write a musical, and it was so brilliant to be in a room. We're in rooms with creative people all the time. We have a lot of creative friends, a really good creative social network, but there aren't many people we're in a room with who want to write a musical. And so this was really exciting for us, because we were all at a very similar stage. There's 8 other people there of all different ages, and they're all just wanting to write a musical. And it's so great for networking and bouncing ideas off each other, and confidence of, yes, I can do this. You're in the same position as me, and this is what we need to do. It was a course, which is another way that you can find the people. We invested in ourselves, and we went on this course, and it was great. It was full of great information, really great course leader who had lots of experience. And again, she didn't laugh at us. She wasn't like, well, you guys aren't going to write a musical. Of course she wasn't. But it was so nice to be in a room with someone who assumed you were going to write a musical that was, going to work. And, and when you finished, here's what you do with your pitch to get funding for your £1 million musical or whatever. See, we're laughing, but she wasn't laughing.
No.
And she just took everybody's ideas so not seriously. Well, it was serious. Just that comes across as wrong, but
with their passion, everyone had their own way of talking about it. And we're actually working on our next musical, and we realised we didn't have to rush. We did need more structure. We've got lots of brilliant ideas. Again, investing in yourself with something that you're passionate about doing. And we came away with so much from that course that we can just move forward with and improve Hugh with as well.
And knowing there are at least 8 other people in the world on the same journey as us and in a similar place.
Yeah.
But the other thing you can do, which is a new thing that we've started doing, is reaching out to people who we can see who are doing things that where we want to be in a few years, the place that we're aiming for, not long term, but a good few years ahead of us. And we started reaching out to those people and just asking if they can chat or if they have any advice or even just connecting with them. And that has been such a surprising response of yeses, of people who are busy and very successful doing what they do, making time to talk to us and giving us their advice, giving us an hour of their time. It's been fantastic. But that takes a bit of getting over yourself as well. The fear of them saying, no, fuck off.
But, yes, as you said before, if the worst that can happen is them saying no or not responding,
it's not going to ruin your day,
really.
really.
The world, is it?
No. You didn't know them before, you don't know them now. That's something we're going to work on a bit more this year, is just networking with people who we would like to be in circles with and learn from.
Yeah.
Because if someone approached us, this isn't a hint. Actually, it is a hint. You can. Someone approached us and said, I really just want some advice, or it's just laughable that someone would really. But here we are doing a podcast. So if someone wanted to talk to us for half an hour about the things we've been doing, of course we would do it. Because we love to talk about ourselves. And we love to meet people who are doing the same things as us. We think creative people connect really well like that.
Yeah.
So, and everybody just wants everyone to do well. Everyone wants the arts to do well. Yeah. Mostly.
And actually that's a good point, because really everyone does want everyone to do well. So when we have those moments of, am I good enough? Am I not? I mean, we can always learn, and we can always be more.
Sometimes ideas aren't for immediately today. We've had this idea of this musical we've been working on. How long?
A year.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure if it was going to be a musical or a play, or the just over a year. Yeah. But we had the vibe, we had everything felt that it had to happen.
Like instant connection, wasn't it, for both of us?
Yeah.
If you find something you're meant to be doing, the kind of excitement, you can't stop thinking about it. When we work together, if we know something's right, we can't stop talking about it. That happened with this project. But we were in the middle of starting the tour for Hugh last year.
Yeah.
We had a lot of things going on between us, and all sorts of things happening. And finding the time to kind of work on this project, we kind of felt the pressure to like, oh my God, we've got to do it now, otherwise that thing's going to happen where the idea moves on by, goes to somebody else, and we really want it.
Yeah.
So, this sounds weird, doesn't it? But we kind of talked to the idea and we said, stay, we want you. And we imagined tying it down to one of the pot plants in my lounge.
In a balloon.
In a balloon.
In a clear balloon.
Mm-hmm. Not physically, this was all in our imagination.
Yeah.
And we weren't drinking.
No.
This is a real thing.
Yeah.
And we just told the idea, we're holding space for you here.
Yeah.
We want to work on this. You're tied to this tree, don't go anywhere. That houseplant is since dead.
Oh. But the idea is alive.
The idea is alive.
Maybe that's why.
And all we could think to do was to book way ahead, a day out, to really give that idea some space. And we booked a day up at Mill Farm, which is a great, amazing place actually to brainstorm, because we wanted to be near nature and we wanted to have space and be in a creative space. So we booked a day, and we didn't know what we were going to do with that day, but we just knew we were going to try and do something to make this idea a little bit more physical. And we had a whole day of brainstorming, and actually we came up with the title of what we wanted to call it, and we came up with the feeling that we wanted to create in this performance.
Yeah.
But that's as far as we got, and that took us a whole day.
And we did do a little bit of research after that as well.
But not loads.
No.
But we would just kept checking back in, and when we were doing our diaries, we'd be like, right, when are we going to put in some time for scene? And there was never quite the right time. And so we booked, one of the reasons we booked this how to write a musical course was we knew it'd be 2 days long, and we knew it would give us the time
and the space,
which is important,
to
really make some decisions and keep working on it. So really over a year, we've only spent 3 days on it, but we have had that time booked in, and if that's all you can manage, that's all you can manage, as long as you are making that space. Because from those 2 days, we now have a great structure, we have a great idea. But again, it's not the right time for us to start developing that rehearsal process.
Yeah.
You know, we need another chunk of time. And we know that. And so slowly we're moving forward. But that giving it that space and talking to the idea like it's yours.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Really, I can't recommend it enough, really.
Yeah.
We're not saying that we have got everything sorted out and that we are swanning around just doing it anyway and that none of these things come up. We just thought it would be really helpful to share with you what we found useful and ways we found of knocking that on the head.
Yeah.
But we thought if we gave you 3 bits of homework to do, you don't have to do it. We're not going to check up on you. But if you're really listening to this and just thinking, I want to commit to making this project happen this year, or just start it, we're going to give you 3 things to aim to do to move yourself forward in this dream you've had, whether you've begun working on it or it's literally just a thought in your mind. These 3 things will help you move forward. Number 1, find somebody, as we talked earlier, find somebody that you can trust, you can talk to, and you can tell your dream to. Somebody preferably that you feel that you can be a little bit vulnerable with. If you don't have anybody, message us. It doesn't matter what your dream is. We don't only work in musicals. But it doesn't matter what your dream is, because all you're doing is telling somebody, you're putting it physically into words.
Yeah. And once it's out there, it could go anywhere. So just enjoy describing it and talking about it. The next thing is, and you can do this right now, unless you're driving maybe, but go and find your diary and book some time out. Make it for you and your project. That's really important, that you go out and give it that time to sit with it, because it might be that you think, actually, I don't need this yet. We'll do this in a month or 2, or right, I'm on it. I'm going to do it. But until you give it that time, you won't know.
And the third thing is find one thing you can do this week to move your project one step further. It might be doing any of the things we've suggested in this podcast. So it might be sending an email to someone you know who has the skills to help you with something, reaching out and connecting with someone on social media who is already doing what you're doing, or even just booking yourself on a course or into a class. Pick one thing you're going to do. It can be a small thing, it can be a huge thing that's going to move you forward one more step in your journey, and let us know what it is. So if you've got something you're dreaming of or you're working on and you're feeling a bit apprehensive or scared,
our advice would be
just do it anyway. See you next time.